Hi everyone out there, I'm Matthew Presley. Welcome to Open Labs Live. I'm here right now in front of our new 64-bit Nico XXL. Um, for those of you who don't know what the Nico XXL is, this is our flagship. This is our biggest, baddest, most expensive, but most powerful machine. I'll do a quick tour, and then we're going to jump right into a piece of software that we have on it called MIMIK. Inside the XXL, you have Intel i-series processors running i5. They come stock with 4 gigabytes of RAM, but you can easily upgrade them to 16 gigs. And you can also opt to put in a quad-core i7 if you'd like. What makes the XXL unique from every other just basic laptop computer and any other type of competing product is our tight integration with our control surfaces. While all of our controllers are freely mappable and freely assignable, we have done tons of extensive work making maps for Pro Tools, Studio One, Cubase, of course our included software that we write such as Riff and Reaper, you name it. Quick breakdown of our controllers. I have a controller here called the Mix Edit that gives you 9 faders and a dedicated context edit controller. Great for DAW use. Will control your DAW mixer, be it Reaper, Cubase, Pro Tools, Nuendo, etc. The edit will change functionality based on what software you're in. For example, in Reaper, it may control your track EQ or your track compressor. Same thing in Cubase. Other softwares may be your synth controller. It's very flexible depending on what software you run. Alpha 2 controller on the right hand side. 8-way joystick lets you navigate select parts using a controller instead of a mouse. Much faster. You can also do scrub editing, cutting, take swiping, you name it. The master is really what sets the mode for the controllers. For example, I hit the menu button. I'm then given a choice of what apps I want to launch the controllers for, be it Riff, Ableton Live, Reaper, Pro Tools, Studio One, you name it. You press the one you want, launch the program, you're ready to go. Last but not least, we have the Bump MP, which is tightly integrated with F-Expansion's Guru software. With that, you've got LastPad for fast drum triggering, 8 banks of drums, Akai MPC type functions such as note repeat, fixed level. You've got individual tuning per pad, you name it. For full demonstrations, please look at some of our past videos that we've done throughout this week. We've gone over all of that. One thing we haven't really shown in a long time is an app we call MIMIK. And it's a small app, but very, very powerful. And what it allows you to do is a lifesaver. With this one app, keyboard players such as Morris Hayes has scaled down his live rig from 14 keyboards and sound modules down to just 3 products, 2 of which are Open Labs products. What MIMIK does is this will take a sound off any MIDI-equipped keyboard and auto-sample it into your machine. It auto-samples into an open format, so it can be read in Contact, Halion, Dimension, the Wuzik, you name it. It's not locked to any proprietary sample player. Go ahead and bring up the screen. Let me show you exactly how this works. We've looked at a few other options out there, and our reason for writing one instead of going with an alternative is this is really the easiest. I mean, you hit Options, and you've got, what audio input you're feeding it into. Audio input is for your keyboard. For setting it up, you need 2 things. You need audio cables for your keyboard. You're going to connect them to the output of the keyboard you want to mimic into the line inputs on the back of your Nico, Miko, or SoundSlate. You need a MIDI cable running out from your Nico into the back of the Motif, which is what I'm using now. You can do this, of course, with a Phantom or any other keyboard that you own. The second set is we have the low range and high range. This makes it very easy to tell what notes you're actually going to sample. I hit play, and it'll sample it. Maybe I don't want to sample a note that low. I can simply drag up with my finger to the note I want. Maybe we'll start 2 octaves higher on this one. Good. Got it set for 3 octaves. Additional parameters, you have note downtime, which I have it set to 8 seconds. So that means that when MIMIK sends the MIDI, it's going to play each note for 8 seconds. You have velocity layer control. Up to 128. We typically recommend 2 to 4 for most hardware keyboards, as that's pretty much their limit. Channel, stereo, or mono. You can do it in 16-bit if you want to save storage space, or all the way up to 32 float. If you're not really sure what all patches you want off a board and you just want to do everything, we included some advanced options here on the right to do that. I can have it do bank select. I can have it do program change, and it'll do 128 programs at once. So if your keyboard has, let's say, 5 banks and 128 programs in each bank, you just set this all the way up to 0 to 127 and set your bank to, let's say, 4. 0 through 4, that will make 5. Hit go and just let it run. It'll automatically cycle through all of the presets and all of the banks for you. Note that this is a real-time process, so that can take time. And if you're recording in WAV format, it is going to take up a lot of hard drive space. We recommend using a large, 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte external backup drive, or install another drive in your machine. The Nico XXL can hold up to 8 terabytes of hard drive space if you wanted to. So, all your choice. More advanced features, I can capture aftertouch velocity layers, and the feature at the bottom that is on by default is really nice. Chop leading samples and chop trailing samples. A lot of the times if you are going through like an entire bank, you're going to have a wide range of sounds, from stuff that has long sustain to short attack, such as drums. I can have the note downtime set at 8 seconds, and if one of those patches I come across has to be something like a drum kit where there's not really a lot of play, this will auto chop the start and the end of your samples, so you're not wasting unnecessary disk space with just empty silence. So let's move on with the demo. I can do that. Since this is a real-time process, I'm going to take it down to do really just 1 octave, and I'm going to set it for 1 velocity layer. Now once you set it up and you think you got everything set right, we have a test button. You hit test, it's going to start the process for you. So with this you can monitor input levels, make adjustments accordingly. I can probably stand to bump this up just a little bit. Note that it's better to record lower than too hot though. Let's test that out. Done. That's pretty much it to Mimic. I'm going to go ahead and do this at a lower setting just for the demo. Like I said, I went through all that really fast within a few minutes. Once you're done, you just hit clone keyboard and it's recording right now. So while it's doing that, I don't want to sit here just in silence. After I do this, I'm going to go into some show and tell type stuff. The great thing about running Nicos or Mikos is they're completely open to anything on the Windows format, and the audio community that's out writing these fantastic audio programs, the number is growing every day. There's people that you've never heard of doing amazing things that some of the big guys haven't caught on to yet. I want to show you a couple of plugins after this that I've been using. Some of them are free, some of them are just really cheap, and they're all fantastic. So one thing I should mention, and I'm not sure how detailed the screen is, as it's recording all these notes, it's telling you how much time it's going to take and how much disk space it's going to use. So this one simple patch I'm doing is roughly only 9 megs in size, and I have about a minute left. Once this is done, like I said before, this is encoding all this in a sample format called SFZ. It's open source. Contact can read it. Woozik can read it. Dimension can read it. Halion can read it. Pretty much every major software sampler can read SFZ, and if you have one that can't, there are tons of translators you can use on it. Or you can just grab the raw WAV files and align them how you want. They're named with their note name, so you don't have to figure out, what's what. I mean, If you can see on the screen, it says it's recording C4 at velocity 127. It even labels all your velocities for you. All right, and that's done. Now let's go play this. Now you may have Contact or something on your machine. If you don't, we have two samplers you can play this in. The default one we use is Wuzik. Let me just type in Wuzik. When I go to Wuzik and I go to the audio interface, at the top of the preset list is OpenLab's MIMIK. So if I go to bank here, I can see my program there. Now, I didn't bother typing the name of the program. The patch I just sampled was called Early 70s. I could have typed that in and it would have named it for me. I didn't, so it just says program. To play it, I just touch it, and there it is. Plays nice. Plays easy. If I did multiple velocity layers, if you just do two, for example, I mean, you're probably noticing that I've only got one. If I do two, it'll actually scale up. So you can still play dynamically. You can still, capture like, the nuance. And if you're running it in a sampler like Wuzik or Contact, you can also apply, velocity filters that add even more expressiveness to it. But that's as simple as that. I just did one octave of one patch. I can set that range to do all 88 keys on something if I want. And I can tell it to do multiple programs in one pass. So, for example, when we were writing this and testing this, I took one very popular keyboard and I did the entire A bank. Entire A bank, just to kind of give you a point of reference, let's say I'm going to do a bank of 127. Let's turn on program change. I got 127 there. Let's get more than one octave there. Let's go back down to C1. And I can also just type that in, by the way. There we go. We'll do C1 to C6. Cool. And we'll actually do two velocity layers this time instead of just one. So here's the setup. I've got a note down time of 8 seconds. I've got two velocity layers. I've got it doing recording at 16-bit. Let's go and bump that to 24. And I've got it to do 128 patches in one fell swoop. When you're doing a setup like this, one second. Oh, when you're doing a setup like this, it's going to take some time. It's going to be one of those things to where it's going to probably take, roughly, I don't know, a day. Maybe not a whole day. Let's see, 39 hours. Yes, a little bit more than a whole day to do all of that. 39 hours, and it's going to take up 17.3 gigs of storage. What that'll give you is the entire A bank of a keyboard, doing, notes C1 through C6 and holding down each note for 8 seconds. Now, like I said, that estimation is rough. If any of those presets don't have 8 seconds of material, you hit a snare and it's quiet after, the first second. It's going to auto chop that to save space for you. Cool. Any questions so far on MIMIK? No, not at all. Fantastic. Well, I could keep doing more MIMIK and more MIMIK, but you guys get how simple it is. It comes on every Open Labs product, be it a Sound Slate, Miko, Nico, you name it. And it is as simple as that. Now, let's get into some plugins. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with Native Instruments. They just released their Complete 7 at an incredibly insane value at $4.99. 90 gigs of stuff. I mean, honestly, you get that. That's really all you need. There's other great stuff out there, such as Spectrasonics Omnisphere, the F expansion synths. The list is endless. But really, if I had to pick one, if I only had the choice of one sound source, I would probably just buy Complete and call it a day. I took the liberty recently of checking out their entry-level version, which is a Complete 7 Elements. It sells only $129, and it gives you a mere fraction of what you get with the of what you get with the full version. But man, what you get for 129 now is absolutely crazy. I mean, the quality of the pianos that come in the entry level version are really good. You get a nice upright, a good grand, you get some really good strings, amazing synths. Let's go over some stuff real quick. I want to go ahead and add the contact player. And the contact player, unlike the full version of contact, just plays authorized sounds, which there's tons of stuff you can add on their website to that. And tons of stuff from third-party people. Let's check out this Concert Grand. Loads really fast. You have different sound options that you can chords for guys like me who can't play. You can set it to just a specific scale. Basically, once again, for non-players like me, I can say, okay, cool, I'm going to do this in a melodic minor. I can't hit a bad note to get out of that. It's going to play every note. You know, if I hit the wrong note, it's going to transpose to the next one. Very cool feature. Check out some of the string. Check out the string patch you get with this. You get good strings, good string ensemble, good brass, and you can add on more. Their packs start off, I think, like $99. If you're interested in complete, don't have $500 to get, man, at 129, this is a great steal. You get a kit from the Abbey's Road 60s Drum Collection. All kinds of synth sounds inside Contact. You get more than just Contact with this. You're also going to get Reactor Player, which has a bunch of synths. You get Core Player, which has sounds from Absinthe and Massive. I'll go into that here in a bit. But it's a really it's a really good collection. I mean, you could get a lot of mileage even out of their light version. What do we got here? Irish flutes. What do we got under other band instruments? See what we got for electric piano. You got effects on your stuff like electric piano, such as reverb, cabinet emulation, different tones. Good there. All right, moving on out of this. From them, I'm going to get Contact 4, the Player Edition, Core Player, and Reactor 5. Reactor 5 is really hip. If you're not familiar with Reactor, you're able to build your own synth in the full version. In this in this live version I'm playing with, you just get a bunch of different synths that you can drag and drop and play. Easy to use. Very, very cool synthesis. Let's look at some of the stuff we have in the Core Player. The Core Player is pretty cool because besides just like the sounds from Absinthe and and massive. Chord Player will also play all the contact sounds too. So I mean, like if I look at the sound packs, I've got the best of Absinthe, the best of Massive. I have the contact compilation of all their sounds here. I've got their factory selection that you can play. You can really kind of do just about all of it inside here, and it's just double tap. See what? Sorry about that. I'm gonna blow up some laptop speakers. Tons and tons and tons of sounds. If you haven't played with Absinthe before, Absinthe's been used on tons of stuff. Movie soundtracks, music. All the sounds are really ethereal. You know, if you're doing, if you need a lot of background texture, I can't recommend Absinthe enough. You know, some of the sounds you're going to tweak to fit in your mix, depending on the style of music you're going to do, but lots of stuff that would really take hours to program if you were doing this by yourself. Let's see here. Next thing I wanted to show, besides just sound libraries are great, but what makes a lot of these sound libraries awesome are effects that you can run. You know, Contact has their built-in effects, Core has their built-in effects, Reactor has built-in effects, but when it comes time to mixing, there's all sorts of just pure effect plugins that typically are going to outperform stock effects plugins that are inside an instrument. Let's take, for example, like a basic EQ. Let me go into Contact and let me load up that drum kit again. Now this is Abbey Road 60s drums. I'm assuming 60s, meaning that, you know, obviously there's not really a lot of high end, not really a lot of low end on that either, just because it looks like it's a large kit, large in size, and, you know, it looks like I'm only hearing the overhead mics out of this. Check this out. This EQ you can get for free. It's called the Sun EQ. Just go to Google, type in Sun EQ, you'll find a download link. Very, very cool. It's got a Pultec style shelf where you can kind of boost and attenuate the same frequency at the same time. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the curves are completely different on both. Cool, net sounding mid-range. And what I like about it is the drive section on here. It really adds a cool kind of a saturation, kind of thwack, especially to that snare. Alright, looks like we are running out of time. If you have any questions, post them in the chat or email me directly at matt@openlabs.com. Today's Friday, so we won't be doing a broadcast tomorrow, but we will resume once again next week. Until then, I'm Matthew Presley. You guys stay cool.